So the reason for faith, failure, success is twofold. There are so many talented writers out there that have stories that I felt like needed to be told. And I didn't think we could do it all in one book. So we've ended up doing 4 of those now. It started with successful stories along the entrepreneurial journey. The second book, Surviving the Storm. The third book is Turning Point. And the last chapter, I think, the last chapter, knock on wood, is going to be I am, I can, and I will, which are affirmations for every day. But like I said, it was a twofold reason for doing this. Number one, yes, those authors, those writers, some first time, some existing, needed to tell those stories. Some of my authors had stories that were so much deeper in them that needed to come out. So this was a great way to package that and bring it out. But the main reason is there's so many people that needed to hear them. There's so many people that could relate to the stories of abuse, the stories of homelessness, the stories of depression, the stories of sadness, the stories of loss. And then they needed to see the other side, and that's the success side of it. So the failure is important, and we talk about chasing failure. The faith is very important because whatever you believe in, sometimes that's the only thing that can get you through. And the success is what everybody needs to see, that there is another side, there is a brighter side to that mountain that you're climbing. So that's the reason.
Hi, my name is Cynda Williams, and I am an actress, singer, writer, radio person. Got quite a few occupations. And my chapter is a snapshot of my life and a very challenging yet life-changing experience that I had around 2015, 14, 15. And it changed everything for me. It makes me think of that phrase that people use, the dark, whatever, the night. I had that experience. I was going through quite a bit of difficulties at the time. I was in the midst of a divorce. I didn't know what I was going to do, where I was going to go. My monies, there were crazy things happening with my financials, worried about my daughter. There was all kind of things going on. But at the same time, I was also working on a magnificent play, Immediate Family, by Paul Stovall, directed by Phylicia Rashad. And it was a wonderful experience. So I had amazing pressure on me and difficult pressure on me at the same time. And then add to that issues with my physical. I ended up getting horribly injured on set, actually in a rehearsal space right before we were going on set. And I ignored it. I ignored it as best I could because I did not want to lose this opportunity. There were so many things depending on the success of this project for me that I just didn't want to listen to my body when I needed to stop. And so it threw me into not only the physical aspect of pain, and I had cracked ribs, I had the whole right side of my body had been compacted, my knee was messed up, all the way from my neck down. And then add to that all the medicines I was taking that I'd never taken before, and all the stress I was going through. I have a stalker that was going insane, literally 10 to 15 messages a day, constantly. So all this stuff compounded. Then I found out my thyroid was hyper, way like in a dangerous level of hyper. And I was taking medicine that I was allergic to. All this stuff compounded and took me down, made me stop. And I ended up having a pretty awful experience at a hospital in California. One of the worst, maybe the worst experience of my life, in a place that was supposed to heal, but I felt was meant to kill all the people there. But eventually I ended up in a hospital in Indianapolis, and I found my way back, and it changed my life. I literally died. I had a death moment. My blood pressure was so high that it took me out for a few minutes on the table, and I had that whole near-death experience, talked to Jesus, all these things, and learned so many wonderful things in that time, and it changed my life. And when I came back new. I came back refreshed, and I've handled my life in a very different way. I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of things anymore. And when other people are seeing the worst in things, I see the best in things. So it was an amazing experience. What happened was I was in a manic state. At the time, didn't know what was wrong with me. I was in a manic state, and so I was very paranoid. I was experiencing life in a very different way than everyone else. So when I went to the airport, I was supposed to be getting back to Chicagoland so I could see my daughter's graduation. She was graduating from 8th grade, and it meant everything for me to get back. So add that paranoia to what's happening to me physically, what's happening to me mentally, and my boyfriend at the time was with me, and he was trying to put me on a plane because he had to get home, different location, and he left me, and that's when everything fell apart. And I'm not blaming him. He had places to go, but he was my anchor. I literally felt like I was a balloon lifting away, and he was holding the string. And when he left, I was floating. So I don't really know what happened on the plane, but enough happened on the plane where they said, you can't take the plane. So they escorted me off the plane, and they said I had to get a doctor's note basically saying that I was safe to fly. So unfortunately, it was later in the day, and by the time they got me to a hospital, another friend joined us who was in that field, the psychology field, and they found a hospital in downtown Los Angeles, and it was hell on earth. Unfortunately, the doctor left for the day right when I got there. And so I had to spend the night in order to get this signed paper. And I've never experienced such filth, such lack of compassion. The place literally had feces on the walls, urine all in corners. They had the gender separated, men on one side, women on the other, but it was pure filth. The chairs were covered in so much dirt. That were recliners, but there was so much dirt that you could literally wipe it off on your hands. The lights were fluorescent and completely at full strength. They had on a Simpsons marathon that never stopped the entire time I was there on full volume. So it was like they were trying to drive the people crazy. And people that were there were a variety of things. Some people were like me that were having a temporary issues. Some people had mental issues. Some people were drug addicts. Some people were homeless. So there was all kinds of folk there, and so there was all kind of dynamics. And then your nursing staff and the people that were working were very used to this, and so their reaction was not one of compassion. Their reaction, if you irritated them, they were very nasty. But I think that my state of mind made it worse than it actually was, because I was already paranoid, I was already manic, I was always very angry with my friends for bringing me to this place. And so I think my perceptions were magnified to an extent. Was the place horrible? Absolutely. But maybe would not have seemed as horrible if I wasn't in those circumstances. Long story short, I got a nurse that I believe was an angel. I saw things, I was seeing all kind of things, and he calmed me, and I said, can I please find a place where there's no light? Because a big part of my problem, I forgot this part, was I hadn't eaten anything for a month. I'd only had a juice here, a juice there. I could hold nothing down. So I was completely empty of food, and then I was sleeping maybe 20 minutes a day, no time, no sleep. So if you know anything about anything, you know if you don't sleep, that will drive you to a point where you are hallucinating, you are having major issues. So I said, can you please help me? Put me in a dark place, away from all of this, that I can sleep. And he did. He said that there was a room that I could have if they didn't have anybody. It was actually a non-sensory room for people that were losing it. I was like, well, I'm losing it, so please put me in there. And they did, and I was able to finally sleep. They gave me medication, and I slept the night for the first time in over a month. And but I had a long way to go before I was back on the ground. Well, one of the primary things that I discovered is, and this might sound esoteric, but all the stuff that we notice, that we see, all the economical problems, all the violence, all of these things is an illusion. It's all an experiment. It's all an experience that we're having. But what's real is the bigger part of us. And that was one of the things that I could see. I literally saw people at a spirit level. They looked like themselves, but they were not freaking out. They were not upset. They were not. As a matter of fact, I had an experience where I met a homeless man. I was downtown. That's where I was staying. And he was talking to me. He was telling me, you're a queen. You're amazing. And he was saying the most beautiful, wonderful things. But my partner heard, he did not hear what I heard. Because what I heard was the truth. That's what I heard. And so that's why when it comes to when other people are freaking out about the pandemic, when other people are freaking out about the economy, about the gas prices, those are real issues that we're having. But the truth of the matter is we are a part of this change and that's the shift that we're having. The more we ask for things, want things to change, the more change we're putting into our world. And we're fighting against that change, though. We use that word fight all the time, or war, where there's a war on drugs, there's a war on crime, there's a war on this. And as long as we continue to perceive the world in those ways, we will continue to create the wars that we are supposedly fighting. So it's about a change of perspective, and that's what I learned most during this time.
Is that what you focus on with your podcast? Because that seems to make you really happy.
Yes, it does. What I found and what I've really focused on is changing my state and helping other people, unbeknownst to them often, change their state. Meaning, for instance, say you're angry about something, or the other day, I had an issue where I had to remember who I was. My daughter was having issues with school, wasn't sure if she was going to go this semester, and I was concerned about where she was going to go and what she was going to do. And so my thought was, all these things always happen to me. That was my thought. Why do these things keep happening to me? But I'm at a place now where I can say, hold up, is that really true? No, these kind of things happen to everybody. And then from there, oh, this doesn't happen that often. And then from there, everything always works out. And then from there, everything always works out for me. And if you really look at your life, if you've made it till now, everything has worked out for you to get you to this point. And I think people have to be reminded of that often. And I try to do that with the PPC podcast and the radio show in a gentle way. I don't tell anybody what you need to do, because people don't hear words, they receive vibration. People receive how you are, not what you say. So that is how I most try to affect the world in a positive way, by being my best self, by staying in a place of peace and remembering who we all are and reminding people gently of who they are. And it's really been fun and a wonderful experience. Well, it's very much like the life lessons. What's yours will come to you. What's yours will come to you. And make sure that you stay in a state of gratefulness and appreciation for every experience that you have. Because what often happens is people get into that state, well, it's never going to happen. And the business can drive you to a point of hopelessness if you don't have a grounded foundation. If your feet aren't grounded in something positive, be it spirituality, God, Allah, if you believe in the trees, whatever it is, to have that foundation, and remember who you are, and remember that what you put out comes back to you. You attract what you put out. So envy, worry, fear, hatred, any of those things, if you're putting that out, that's what you're going to receive. So in our business, you have to stay in a place of appreciation and remembering who you are.
For anybody that reads your chapter, what do you want them to walk away with when it comes to knowing you, understanding what you've gone through, and giving them a sense of hope?
I'd say the most important thing is that once you stop trying to force an effort life, because that's what I was doing. I was using actions to try to make things happen. Once I stopped and went with the flow and believed in that God that I say I believe in, and had faith, and just settled down, everything worked out, and everything continues to work out. It makes my life so much easier, and I think anyone that reads this story can recognize that if they just let go of the efforting, let go of the forcing, that life always works out for you. That's what I hope people get.
My name is Latresa Rice. I am a certified mindset coach, a clinical therapist, and also a director at the University of Michigan Dearborn. Summary of my chapter. Have you ever felt like your life was on fire? Like you had so many things coming at you at one time and you didn't know what to do, how you were going to make it out of it? What was your first steps? My chapter in the book, Faith, Failure, Success, is titled Life on Fire. I attribute my faith to the triumph over the adversities that I've experienced in my life. I've experienced multiple losses. I lost my mom when I was 7 due to AIDS. I lost my father in 2011. And the grandmother who was my heart, who she raised me, she died in 2020 from other causes. But that was very rough because shortly after her was the death of my husband. So without faith, I would not still be standing. I met my husband through Facebook Messenger. We did not have any mutual friends that I knew personally. We had one mutual friend in common, and he knew that person. They were just on my page as a Facebook friend. He came in my, people slide in your DMs. So my husband slid in my DMs, and I looked at the direct message, and I said, I don't know this guy. I'm not responding to that because he sent a wave. I don't respond to waves. I'm not responding to that. And so I said, if this guy wants to talk, he's going to have to say something, or that wave would just sit there. So a few hours later, he actually sent a message. And when he sent the message, I said, okay, let me go look at this guy's page and see who is this guy. I don't know him because we were not connected on Facebook at all. So I go to his page and I'm looking through, I need to see, is he married? Like, what's going on? So I'm looking through his page. I said, okay, seems all right, but he's really not my type. I don't know. I'm just going to tell him he's not my type. So then he said, although I'm not your type, if you give me an opportunity, I promise I can be everything you need and more. Just give me an opportunity to know you. I said, well, there's no way I'm moving to Columbia, because he lived in Columbia, South Carolina. I said, I'm not moving anywhere. I have my nephew that I'm caring for. I have my grandmother. So there's no need in us getting to know each other. Well, if we get married, I'll move to you. I said, okay, this guy's not giving up. All right, so we exchanged numbers. Our first conversation was through video, and I had just taken my braids down. I answered the video call anyway, so I'm pressing my hair out and everything on this call. And when he got on the phone, he said, you need me to call you back? No, you said you wanted to get to know the person behind the smile. Here I am. We can have this conversation, or we're just not going to have it. Yeah, I want to talk to you. Okay. So he's talking, but during the whole time, I'm pressing hair, I'm laughing, and I put my makeup on during this call. I said, this guy's pretty cool. He didn't run. Okay, I'll continue to talk to him. And we had a courtship for roughly about a year and a half. Then in 2019, we got married. We had this Caesar in Wonderland was my theme, Caesar in Wonderland wedding. And 5 months after that, here comes COVID-19. Now, my late husband, he actually moved to Michigan to marry me, to live, and we were starting this life. And, one of the things he said to my grandmother when she was in the hospital was, you don't have to worry about Teresa, I got her. And my grandmother looked at him and she said, because she's the type where she's always taught us, don't make promises that you cannot personally keep. You don't know whether you're going to live today or tomorrow. So saying, I'm going to do this is not an accurate statement. And he didn't know what she meant by that, but I'm like, yeah, that's grandma. She's like, yeah, I hear you. You can't make that promise. Well, I'm thinking we're still going to continue with this marriage, but a month later, he gets COVID-19. I wind up getting sick with COVID. I find out months later that that's what I had, because during that time, I wasn't allowed to go to the hospital with my husband. We could not get the test. This is in the early phases of dealing with COVID-19. In fact, my husband was sick for about 12 days, roughly, before he passed. And during that time frame, we called the hospital to see if we can get the test, because he's stumbling through the hall, he can barely breathe, he's not eating. And I'm telling this nurse on the phone, these are the things that's happening, and we're both sick. So I'm trying to care for him and all these things. And the nurse says, well, your symptoms are not severe enough for the test. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I told you this man is not eating, he's stumbling through the hall, he's losing weight, and all of this stuff, and you're telling me that his symptoms are not severe enough to get the test. I said, okay. You want to go to the hospital? He said, no, I'm going to let my body fight this off. We just find this on your first. I said, okay. All right. Here we go. 3 more days later, and it's getting worse. I said, okay, I don't care what you stumble through this hallway one more time. I'm calling the EMS. That's it. And he said, okay, I'll go if you call. So I call the EMS. They get to the house, and he's like, are you sure if I go? Yes, you need to go to the hospital. Yes, you do. So he wound up going to the hospital. In my mind, he's coming back home. I never thought that was the last time I was going to see him when he went to the hospital. He actually went to one of the hospitals in Detroit first, but they didn't have any beds. This is still the heart of COVID-19. So they were out of beds. They transported him to Pontiac General Hospital. And during his time in that hospital, he lost his cell phone, but his doctor would allow him to FaceTime me on her phone. just so that we could still converse during that time. He was in the hospital. My husband battled with COVID-19 for 12 days, roughly 12 days, and then he passed. During that same time, we both were dealing with symptoms. I didn't find out until later on that year in August that I had the antibodies for COVID-19, so that's what I dealt with during those 60 days, which he was dealing with things. And I remember when I received the bracelet back after the funeral home picked up his body from the hospital, I was devastated. I was bawling because at that moment, that is when things felt real for me. He really is not coming back. Somebody else gave me the bracelet, but I'm grateful that I do have it, but that was my experience with the bracelet. By the grace of God, I smile because to me, in this moment, this is all we have. A lot of times we think we have tomorrow. We think we have 2 hours later. You have the moment that you currently are living in right now. And I'm grateful to God to be able to have that moment. So that helps me deal with some of the painful experiences. The fact that I'm able to experience pain means I'm still living. I still have an opportunity to come out of this thing. And so it's about the mindset. If you have the right mindset, then you can smile even in the midst of the greatest pain that you are experiencing. And during that time in 2020, that was the hardest period for me because I felt like I dealt with 3 major losses back to back. Although one of them was my grandmother passing, the other one was my husband passing. And then I found out that I'm dealing with all these pregnancy symptoms and then there's no baby. Even though it was no baby, and I can't say, oh, the baby died too, it still felt like another loss because I'm looking pregnant, I'm feeling pregnant, and now I discover there's no baby there. So I have to deal with my mind and get my mind to line up with the body. I thank God for one of the doctors that I had. I had some good doctors. At the time, I thought they were nuts because I'm like, no, all these symptoms, I'm feeling movement. You know, other people I had listening to this thing, like we got all this stuff going on and you all keep saying no baby. I'm taking pregnancy test after pregnancy test and there's no baby there. And one doctor said to me, tell me about the last conversation you had with your husband before he got sick. And so I'm talking to her and I'm all excited. I'm saying, we were talking about having kids. He wanted to have twins. I'm like, no, one is good. You know, so neither of us had kids. And she said, it's possible that your mind went back to a place where you were happiest because of all the trauma. It had to go to something that was joyful. So it went back to a place where you were happiest and it caused your body to produce excess gas and all these different symptoms that are mimicking pregnancy, but there's no pregnancy there. So you got to deal with the mind. So in that moment, I said, okay, this is a mind issue. I'm looking at all the test results. They even did an ultrasound. The ultrasound, there's no baby. There's a fibroid, but there's no baby. So I'm looking at all this stuff and the data is accurate. So then I said, well, you know what? It's a mind issue. Well, God, you know, you said you have not given me a spirit of fear, but that of power and of love and of a sound mind. So I remember looking myself in the mirror and saying, you have a sound mind. So mind, I command you to line up with the reality of the body. There is no baby. We will not keep producing these things. So I remember saying different decrees over myself in the mirror. When you embrace the royal you, which is one of the that's the tagline for my agency, Royal Clarity View. Embracing the royal you is where you are developing and actually walking in the mindset of being royalty with Christ. If you are royalty, you are an heir, which means you have certain authority that you can walk in. And when you're dealing with this type of immense pain, if you're going to get through this healing journey to wholeness, you're going to have to purpose in your mind that I'm coming out of this thing and take the steps necessary to get out of it. And so for me, that started with using writing. I was writing posts on my Facebook because at that period, I didn't want to write anymore. I wasn't trying to write any more books. I'm an author, but I didn't want to write because my grandmother and my husband were some of the major supporters that I had in writing. My grandmother, definitely, I remember when I wrote the first book, Gate to Life, You Choose a Life You Shall Experience. And when I was writing the book, she said to me, nobody's going to buy that book. You're too young to write an autobiography. Nobody's going to buy that book. And I said, Grandma, watch me. And when the book was published, I went back to her with a copy. And I said, Grandma, look, I published the book. She said, wait a minute. Before you sell it to anybody else, I want 5 copies. And I said, okay, Grandma, I'll give you 5 copies. She said, no, I'm going to pay for them. Don't give me 5 copies because I want to invest in you. And I want to be the first one to show you this is what people are supposed to do. It's not about a handout. It's about investment. I'm like, okay, Grandma, let me bag up and just take the money. You know? But it blessed me because she was showing me how you're supposed to be treated. Sometimes we can go through so much pain and we allow people to mistreat us and squander the gift. But there are some people that will show you that your gift is valuable, not just to them, but to others. So when my grandmother passed, that was hard. And while she was in the hospital, before she passed, actually, while she was in the hospital, my husband said to my grandmother, you know, Miss Minnie, you ain't got to worry about Teresa. I got her. She going to be all right. She said, uh-huh. I turned the other way, and he's looking like, what is that? I said, but I understood what she was talking about because one of the things she said was, you cannot make promises that you don't have authority to keep. Nobody knows whether we're going to be here today or tomorrow. So when you promise that you're going to do something, it could come to pass, it could not. So I'm not going to hold on to that. That's basically her thought about that whole ordeal. But for me, I love that he said it. However, a month later when he passed, I'm like, what? So he lied? You know? And I had to go through this whole, in the grieving period of even being angry with my husband because I'm like, what? This another lie? You mean to tell me that you told her that and you ain't here? So that part, when you're grieving and you're on this healing journey to wholeness, it's important for you to just walk through your journey. Don't allow people to tell you how to walk your journey. During that time when I was trying to just live, I remember I had the blinds closed. I didn't want to see any of the sunlight. I would wake up and once my eyes opened, I was angry because I said, oh, I'm still living. You know, I was just really going through. But for me, part of my healing process was to make a Facebook post. Well, I'm still living, then there's somebody I'm supposed to reach. So I'm just going to post a picture today. I guess I'll just post a status comment. Or let me post a happy memory of us and try and think of what was the light. Because even in the midst of immense darkness, light is present. At midnight, you may see stars. It's dark outside, but there's some light there. And if you're going to make it through the healing process to wholeness, you need to search for the light. So for me, I had to search for the light and I was posting it and it was blessing people. They were inboxing me about how these memories were blessing them. But at the time I'm rereading this post, crying, don't want to come out of my room, you know, but I had to write it. And those were my first steps. Whatever your first steps are in your healing process to wholeness, take that step. It could be something as simple as making a post. So I'm taking this step and I need to get my own clinician. Because although I'm a licensed clinician, during that time I needed a licensed clinician. I was dealing with a mind issue, an issue in the mind. And I desired to be free from it. I desired to heal. So I said, well, let me reach out and get my own clinician at this time. So I get this clinician. And at first when she said, you're going to write a letter to your husband, I'm like, I already know that technique. Like, the worst person that you could actually counsel as a clinician is another clinician. Because sometimes they don't want to do the thing. So I'm like, I already know all about that. I really don't want to do that right now. She said, okay, listen, lady, do you want to be healed? Like, what do you want? I'm like, okay, I like her. She got a little attitude. I actually like this clinician. So moving from there, I wrote the letter. There was so much freedom in writing that letter and going through that process that I felt like, okay, I may write again. I don't know if it's gonna be now, but I may. And at that moment, not at that moment. I want to say maybe later on that day, because it was the same day. But later on that day, I got a call from Glenn. And he's like, hey, are you interested in writing a foreword in the book, Faith, Failure, Success, Stories Along the Entrepreneurial Journey? I'm like, yeah. He didn't know that I had said I wasn't writing anything else anymore. I was done with writing. People I love, they're gone. Who's going to be there to support? Like my mind went, forget writing. I'm done with that. And as I'm writing these posts and I'm hashtagging Hurt But Grateful, I have all these different people coming in. When is the book coming out? And I'm saying to them, there is no book, Hurt But Grateful. I'm not writing a book. I'm trying to live here. You know? And some people, they got the worst side of me, but there were some people that get the best side. You know, pray for me. I'm not really there yet. You know, some of them got it. But the ones who inbox me with the whole, I'm waiting on the copy because it's been helping my life and it's changing me. Listen, honey, I don't think you're going to get that copy because I'm trying to survive. That's where my attitude was. I didn't even know that it was going to become an actual book until later on down the line in my prayer time and my process for healing. There were other people who were in my inbox because, see, there was one day in which I said to myself, there are so many people following me right now, and I don't want someone to be following me and not feel like it's okay for them to cry. This is painful. I'm crying every day, but most of the pictures they send is when I finally get out of it and I'm smiling. So I said, I'm gonna take a picture right now in the moment. I'm bawling, I'm having this memory because in my bedroom, it was chaos everywhere. I had the obituaries for my husband. I had the obituaries for my grandmother in the same spot. Both their clothes, all their stuff was in the same room. This room was horrible. And part of my healing process was to take one item out of that room per day. That was the most that I could do at that time, was to remove one item each day. During that time, and I posted this picture of me crying, I had people inboxing me. One in particular I remember because it made me so mad. This person said, I don't come to your page to see you crying, because I come to your page when I'm going through my stuff, and I see a smile every time I come to your page, and I get encouraging words. And so I didn't appreciate that post that you put up with you crying. And I listened to the person. You know, I'm reading it. And part of me want to cuss out. I'm going to tell you right now. Part of me want to cuss out. But I said, okay, Lord, what can I say that will reflect your image to this individual, but get the same point across? So the only thing I could say to this individual was, I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm going to continue to post where I am right now in the moment. There's somebody else that needs this message. And if it's bothering you to that extent, you can unfollow me. That was the best that I could do at that moment. And there's times, and I'm saying this story because some of you may be dealing with some things in which people are trying to tell you how to grieve. They're trying to tell you, you don't take all of that. They're trying to tell you, don't show all of this emotion, because a lot of times culture plays a factor in that. But listen, this is about survival. This is about living. Whatever it takes for you to get through this healing journey to wholeness, you walk it out. If that's crying, you just keep going, you cry. Don't let somebody else stunt you on your process to wholeness. I've had that.
How do you respond?
It's the joy of the Lord. It's the joy. One of the things I have learned over the years and that it's more difficult to frown than it is to smile. And another thing that I've learned over the years, that if I'm in a real hard spot, laughter is good for the soul. So I need to make sure I used to find some comedies during that time. I want to laugh because it was so much pain that if I sit here, if I choose to stay in the pain, then I'll never get out of this. Even when I was dealing with the most intense part of the depression. And I'm going to say this too, because a lot of times people who are either people of faith or people who are licensed clinicians like myself feel that you don't need to go and get professional services, and that could be stunning your healing process. During the time in which I experienced the most intense pain, I also recognized I need to go and get some help. So I went to somebody else, another licensed clinician, to get some assistance. Yes, I work with my bishop and my pastor. I thank God for them. I had some amazing sisters in the church who just really embraced me, and I work with them as well. And, you know, I still needed to go and get a clinical therapist, because one thing that everybody else does not have is the ability for me to be objective. I can say whatever I want to this clinical therapist, and there's no judgment, but at the same time, this person is licensed and trained to be able to help you through those particular issues. So if you think about it this way, when you think about mental health, if you are a brain surgeon, it would be unwise for you to go and perform your own brain surgery to remove a tumor. That is not wise. So a brain surgeon that has a tumor needs to go to another brain surgeon. It's the same thing when you're dealing with mental conditions. And I have had people say that even during the time in which I struggle the most with the depression. I had someone inbox me because one of the posts, I actually took a picture in the midst of me bawling. I was crying. I said, somebody else is watching my page and they're only seeing when I come out of this. So for them, they may feel as if they should not express their emotions. And so I said, well, all these people are following my page. I need to make sure I capture this in the heart of the moment so that they know it's okay. Crying is okay. It's cleansing. It's a part of your healing process. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to go to a rage room and throw some dishes, throw some dishes. Whatever you need to do to move further along your healing journey to wholeness, do that thing. I had people come in my inbox upset because I put that picture on my Facebook page. I didn't remove it. I put that picture on my Facebook page in which I was crying. And one person said to me, I come to your page so that I'm encouraged and happy. I need you to not post things like that because I come to your page for that. I said, wow. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. Right now, I'm trying to live. And I'm using my platform, as a way to display God's power in me as He is using me to help other people who are dealing with this type of pain as I'm trying to live. If you are uncomfortable with that, I encourage you to unfollow me. I really do. It's okay to hit the unfollow button, but I can't promise you that another picture won't come up with tears or I won't go live crying. I cannot promise you that. And I don't want to impede on whatever you need, but I can't be everything you need. God is all you need. I can't do that. And so the person said to me, well, I guess I'll unfollow you. That's fine. So and I'm saying that to encourage somebody else that's watching. There are going to be people who cannot handle your pain. They cannot handle the magnitude of what you're dealing with, and it's okay. But if this is a part of your process, because I was at a state where I didn't want to write anymore. I'm an author. I didn't want to write anymore. The main two people who I felt were super supportive in my life are gone back to back. And then to finally discover there was no baby, it felt like a whole nother loss. So that's like 3 losses all at one time. What got me to start writing again was taking the one step, writing a Facebook post, posting a picture, because I still had to type something. I still got to put something there. But it was taking the baby steps. What are your baby steps? What baby step are you willing to take today to move further along in your healing journey? For me, it was Facebook posting stuff. I went through a phase of posting a happy memory of my husband and I, and then I would post his actual statements. And then at the end, I sat and I thought about what lesson did I learn from that? And I would post the lesson. I didn't realize that those posts were impacting people until I got all these different inbox messages from other people. When is the book Hurt But Grateful coming out? And I said, well, I'm not writing a book, because at that stage, I didn't want to write a book. I wasn't writing a book. I'm simply trying to live. I'm trying to live. I don't want to write a book. And I didn't even know that the title would be Hurt But Grateful until afterwards. When Glenn reached out to me about the first Faith, Failure, Success, Stories Along the Entrepreneurial Journey, it was right after I finished this whole session with my clinical therapist that had me write a letter to my husband, all the things that I wanted to say and all this different stuff. And I wrote the letter. But after writing the letter, because remember I was taking the baby steps of writing Facebook posts, but after writing the letter, I felt free. So when he reached out and said, hey, would you be willing to write the foreword, to this book? I said, sure, because at that point, I was finally ready to write again. You have to do what's important for you. Don't allow people to control your healing process, because they will keep you stuck. Sometimes people can be really selfish in their process.
Hi, my name is Martha Chavez, and I am a financial strategist. My specialty is helping professional women of color to understand, control, and maximize their finances so that they never run out of money, ever. My chapter is called The Beginning, and it is a story of a little girl who, from the earliest memory, has been traumatized and abused by people who are supposed to take care of her, and just how that shapes her into the woman, you know, that she is today. All of the things that she went through, the foundation that was built from that experience at such a young age, and then the continuation of abuse and trauma at the hands of various different people, from family members to, you know, neighbors, and then relationships down the line. But while it seems like it might be a traumatic story, it's actually a story of hope. And it's actually a story of love, self-love, self-care, forgiveness, and a lot of other wonderful things. So that is the synopsis of what my story is about. I think it was finally understanding that the voice and the light and the love that I was feeling and experiencing and hearing throughout my childhood and into my adulthood wasn't just in my head. Once I finally got into reading the Word and understanding the Word and got to understand that it wasn't just God and Jesus, but that there was Holy Spirit. And I finally understood that it was Holy Spirit working in me and through me and carrying me, not just nurturing me and ensuring my safety and my mental safety through all of those ordeals, but really genuinely communicating with me and speaking with me and downloading into me. It's been something that I've experienced all of my life, but that I didn't quite understand until I was an adult. And once I began to understand it, I was able to then really just hone in on it and to let it and allow it to work through me and to guide me through my life. I think the toughest was right after tax season. I'm also an accountant. Right after tax season, I always take a vacation. And in 2015, I took a vacation to Florida by myself. First time I traveled anywhere by myself and stayed by myself. But I really just felt that it was so crucial for me to be alone so that I could hear from God and to understand how to break through this incredible sadness that was just so deep. Not just, oh, okay, I had a breakup. Obviously, you're gonna have some sadness over that. But the sadness was almost like a living, breathing thing that I'd been carrying all of my life. And I just knew that this trip was gonna be pivotal. And so I remember very specifically the last morning of my trip, because of course when something's difficult, we avoid it for 5 days. But the very last morning of my trip, I remember waking up, hitting my Pandora, and the very first song that came out was a song that usually comes out when I'm really broken and I'm really hurting. I've heard it numerous times throughout my life. And of course, that's the first song that's playing. So I went from the bed to the floor and I was just on my face, just praying and just seeking God. And I started to have glimpses and memories and flashbacks that were very, very vivid about some of the earliest things that happened to me. And that was the first time that I remember being able to face them and not turn away. And I'm hearing God's voice and saying, until you can confront it, you can't change it. You have to confront this. And I'm here and I've got you. And with the music playing in the background was like a love story, you know, where he was just right there enveloping me in love and in peace. And I was on that floor and able to see those images. And what was the pivotal moment in that is that as the images were coming forth, rather than feeling angst and pain and anger, I finally understood that they were there to propel me towards something. And I started to say, thank you, Lord, every time an image came forth. And to be able to praise and worship and say thank you through the heartache and through the pain really truly broke something incredible in me, but off me. And when I arose from that floor many hours later, I really kind of was reborn, if you will. I just stood up a different person. I stood up a stronger, more fulfilled person. And I finally understood that, not that I was grateful that it happened, but I was grateful that I was able to push through and break it off to now be able to build something new and different. Well, first I would say that I wrote it for you, just one you. Not a collective set of women, but just one you. The you that's broken, the you that's hurting, the you that's depressed, the you that can't even face what you've been through or where you even are. And you don't have to go away and get broken, because that's not everybody's journey. But what I will say to you specifically is that the reason that I wrote this book is because I want to be for you what I wish somebody had been for me. I wish that at a young age I would have known that there is hope. I wish that I would have known that it doesn't have to always be this way. I wish I would have known that what happened to you doesn't mean that's who you are. That's just what happened to you. And to break through the label of I've been abused or I've gone through this traumatic experience. So I wrote it for you, whoever you may be, to let you know that no matter how horrific your past, it's exactly that, it's your past. It's not your present, and it doesn't have to be your future. It's up to you. And if I could be healed, and if I could come forth, and if I could forgive, and if I could break forward into something better, you can too. Absolutely. I think that's why it took me so long to write it, particularly my children. Obviously my parents and my siblings know the story, and they know, at least they know the beginnings. They probably have no idea of the other stuff that evolved. But I was mostly worried about my children. And I wasn't so much worried that they would know what happened to me. I was worried of the pain that it would cause them to know what I went through. And so in a way, I was just trying to protect them from that pain. But what I realized, and what got me through that, was seeing my children become adults, particularly my boys, and to come to the realization that they don't really know me. They know that I'm their mother, but they don't know the human me. They don't know the woman that I am, or the reasons why I've made some of the choices that I've made, or spoken to them in ways, that I probably, in hindsight, would change. But I realized that if they're able to get an understanding of who I am as a human being and as a person, that would then help us bridge that gap between just mother and child, but then to hopefully friends, and that we could build something beautiful from that with a full understanding of who we both are. It was incredibly exciting, but it was incredibly terrifying all at the same time. It was a dream that I've had since I was a little girl. I don't know how I knew, but I knew that one day this would come true. And I knew that this had to be the first story. There's a lot of other stories brewing inside of me and inside of my heart, but this one had to be the first one. Because in order for me to show up authentically as who I really am, I had to break through that barrier first. But it's been an honor, it's been a privilege, and it's really truly been a dream come true for me. She was actually a very intricate part of my writing, and I do most things with her in mind. And again, with just wanting to show her with the type of young lady that she could be and the kind of adult woman that I hope she grows into, that I know that she can grow into, by just being authentic and being honest. And I let her be the first one to read the book. And that was also a very strategic decision, because I knew it was going to be difficult. But again, I wanted to show her that even through pain and heartache, you can be powerful and you can show up strong. And this can be the other side of it. So she suffers from a lot of, depression and anxiety and other things like that. And the book and my story has already helped her to say, well, if mom did it, then I can too. And even though I haven't been through anything, this is all clinical anxiety and depression, not situational like mine was. It's still just like a stone, like a foundation stone for her to build from. And it's already created some amazing dialogue between us and some amazing moments where we've been able to cry together and laugh together and plan together for a beautiful future for her and her children. Yes, I'm already working on another book, as a matter of fact. I wanted to elaborate more on the stories and elaborate more on the people in my life and the characters, if you will. And I also wanted to expand on who I am now and you know, the outcome. And what I've told people, particularly friends and family, that when they read the book, it is going to be very difficult, but look, it ends well, right? It's got a good ending. So I just want to elaborate more and go a little bit deeper and tell more pieces of the story, if you will. So I am already working on that. I would say that I am that beautiful butterfly who had to go through, you know, the muck of crawling on the ground and maybe not being ugly, but feeling ugly and feeling like I just couldn't get up off the ground for so many decades. And then when I went inside of myself and shielded myself with God's love and God's peace and God's word, I dissolved completely and then got put back together. And what emerged from that was something that I could have never, ever envisioned, even if I tried. I've never been a better version of me. I've never been happier. I've never been more at peace. I've never been more clear-headed. I've never been more joyful. And I really, really, truly feel this is the pinnacle of where, you know, I never knew that I could get here. I didn't know this was a place. But I'm very grateful for where I am and who I am today.
Robert Hazzard, I have a company called the Hazzard Group, which essentially consults with small businesses, helping them with innovation and website design and project management. The title of my chapter in the book is called When God Has a Way of Grabbing Your Attention.
All right, and what's that about?
You know, it's about the journey that when we leave, you know, God's protective care. I believe I have this whole thing about mindset and faith being at the center of the foundation for everything we do. But when we are self-centered, or when we think about doing it in our own way and in our own strength and leaving God out of it, so many things happen. And one of the things happens is we end up failing. It's interesting because I had a successful sales career, you know, at a major company, and it allowed me, afforded me to be able to travel, you know, to go to various Diamond Club and other recognition ceremonies, and that was really because my upbringing, my Christian upbringing, helped me to be able to interact with people. But the minute that I started like being on autopilot and forgetting about what God wanted me to do, that's when everything started to crumble. I think that, you know, there's a scripture in James, the second chapter, I want to say verse 17, and I'm not a Bible thumping person, but, you know, it comes to mind, but it talks about faith without works is dead, right? And so when we talk about our faith in our journey, it has to amount to something. We have to be producing something, or otherwise it ain't gonna happen. You know, that's a great question, because I don't know where I would be, because here's the thing about the whole therapy piece. I was having a discussion about this not too long ago. Depression, all forms of mental health are things that are happening in our community. And not too recently did we put a title on it. Even in church, when you struggled in various ways, it was, well, you need to read your Bible, You need to do this more. You need to show up at church more. So it's all of those things. But I think that what therapy has helped me to do is put some boundaries around that. It's also helped me with coping skills. And I think that's important for people. I think that we have a high suicide rate among Black men. And now, recently, it's around children. And I think that social media plays a big part in all of that. And so therapy has helped me to be able to have somebody that is a licensed professional that I can talk to and get feedback. And basically the stories that I tell them, they can take to the grave with them because they're legally bound to do that. So I think that I'm an advocate now of mindset and therapy so that people can get help there from someone that is a trusted advisor. That's an easy one. I think that the marriage according to Robert's plans deals with ego. So ego says, for me, is that this is how we're going to do this. And now, obviously I'm consulting the Bible and what have you, but ego has affected me where I can't necessarily yield because it's, I had a father that believed in it was his way or the highway. We duplicate that, or I duplicated that when I got married. And while, we had Bible study, I conducted all of those types of things, it still afforded me to have that ego that I couldn't always listen to what they were saying. But the Bible says, it differently. And it gives the example to love your wife as Christ loved the church or the congregation. And that's always something that has been, or women will throw up in a man's face real quick, when it comes to that, if we're not acting in alignment. But there's also some other things that we need our partners to do as well. So there's been a struggle there, but again, it's boundaries that I've learned through the therapy piece of it that would help me to be a better mate, a better husband going forward. There's a story behind the Lover of Life, and the story is really when my sister died unexpectedly. The fact that we may have taken life for granted back then, thinking that we had more time, to spend with our loved ones, and we don't. Because I happened to be at the hospital as she was getting released from the hospital, and a fluke accident happened at that time and took her out. So because of that, I think about the whole life is important. I want to experience every moment possible with loved ones, and I want to enjoy it. So that's really where the Lover of Life comes into play. It has nothing to do with anything else, but it is a memory of my sister and the fact that we can't take life for granted. First of all, is that for men, we're never alone. Sometimes we're placed on an island that because we're men, we have to be strong. I saw my father being a strong man. All his life, he was a mechanic. He could pretty much fix anything, and his muscles were bigger than mine. I still haven't achieved that, but I think that we're never alone, and it goes back to the whole piece of therapy. reach out to somebody that's trusted. Have that accountability partner on speed dial so that, when you're struggling with something, you can do that. My chapter just talks about, it kind of weaves in the whole faith piece, the whole pursuit of failure, which is about becoming, because it's a journey. And I've often believed, and I still believe, that we never get a certificate that really says that we're successful. I don't think we get it. And so because we don't get it, we have to keep going, right? And it's a daily grind. And that even goes back to the faith piece of it. When I taught Bible study back in the day, you don't get a certificate that says you have mastered the Word of God. You don't get it. So it is a continuous thing. It's almost like Michelle Obama's book, The Becoming. We want to continue to become better. I think the most important message is that you're never alone. As we walk through the journey of life, we can always have someone else to do that with. I mentioned about having, accountability partner, someone that that is really in your corner to be able to help you, with that. The whole mindset that I talked about, earlier is we've got to have a positive mindset, because once we get down on ourselves or get in a rut, it's hard to get out of that. Chasing failure, Ryan Leake has a book that talks about chasing failure, and you think about it and you're like, why would I want to do that? You want to do it because we're all on a journey to get better, whether it be with our faith walk, whether it be with our marriage, whether it be within our relationship, whether it be in the areas of success. I want people to know that you can do it. You just have to do a little bit more every day.
I'm Samantha Danielle. I'm a master of champagne, and my chapter in the book is called The Mask. It was based on faith, because we are faith, failure, success. I was tasked with writing about faith, and I wrote really about what it takes to continue to work in a business when you really even don't believe in that business anymore. And you have to really discover what your why is to keep going, because you realize it's really not about making money as an entrepreneur. That's part of it, and that's the end game, because we definitely all have to survive in this world. But at the end of the day, when you're an entrepreneur, you have to really understand why you're doing what you're doing. And I talk about how, I went through something very personal and just didn't even believe in the core value of my business anymore, and what it took to get me through that. That's what my chapter is about. I'm really motivated by trying to make generational changes for my family. Not only, people talk about generational wealth a lot, but even when it comes to education, blessings, and so it's got to start with somebody. And I had a conversation with my brother a few years back, and we was like, you know what, it's got to start with us. We had a great upbringing with, our mom. She was very good to us. She did the best that we can, but we want to be the Hiltons. We want to be the Rockefellers. And so God has blessed us with the capacity to be able to start doing that. And that's what motivates me in everything that I do. It's what am I leaving for my nieces, my nephews, and my godchildren. They are my motivator. That came about as a career switch. I was a wedding planner for 13 years, and two things. I was riding in the car one day, listening to Joel Osteen, and he was talking about generational blessings. And I was like, okay, that's really when the light bulb went on about what do I need to be doing to kind of make sure that I'm setting up future generations in my family, because the wedding planning was about me. A little bit of my story is that, you know, I'm really a lover of love, and that's how I fell into wedding planning. And the thing about that is, if you don't work, you don't get paid. And it's a service. And I have to be awake and there and present in order to service the clients. And I was like, okay, I want to stay in the wedding industry, but what can I do that I'm basically going to make money in my sleep? And I was like, champagne. Because as a wedding planner, you schlep so much of it. When people are sad, happy, crying, it's always like, let's pour the champagne. So I got into it because I decided to do my own private label to sell back into the wedding industry. It was really tough. It was a 5-year plan for me because I'm really big on education. Even when so back to another career switch. I'm actually a registered nurse by trade. So I was a pediatric nurse, then I got into clinical research, then I got married, and I was like, oh my God, I love weddings. But I hate people who are like, oh my God, I plan my own wedding and now I'm a wedding planner. Like, girl, no. So I actually went and took a course and became a certified wedding planner. And I had to take a test and do a project. It was really, really tough. And so fast forward to the same thing with the champagne. I don't want to be the person that's like, you know what? I pour champagne all the time. I know everything about it. And I was like, no, I need to get certified somehow. I knew I didn't want to be a som because I think soms are amazing. Like to be able to blind test and say, oh, this is from plot 4 from 1985. I'm like, I can't do that. I'm like, what's the alcohol content? So I just was like, I need to really understand this industry, the background of it, so I could be taken seriously when I'm talking the business side of the business. So I found the Wine Scholar Guild, and they offer master level certificates. And so I took their Master of Champagne course. It was 2 years of studying because I'm not from France. I don't speak French. So part of it was just like a language barrier with the instructors, really trying to understand what they were saying. I took an immersion trip over to Champagne with the group. That was super fun. And then again, I had to take a test, multiple choice, map, and essay. And I failed it the first time. And when I took it the second time, I was like, okay, I'm doubling down. So that's how I became a Master of Champagne. So I did pass the test the second time around. And so now I'm at the process of very soon, very, very, very soon, I'll be launching my private label. Yeah, so that was the real focus of the chapter in my book, because that's why I call it the mask, because I was still always smiling, because I never wanted my clients to know what was going on with me, because weddings are already stressful. And sometimes people just can't help themselves. When you spend a lot of time talking to somebody every day, all the time, you start to quote unquote care about that person a little bit. And I never wanted them to worry about me. I just wanted them to be focused on their day. And so I call it the mask because I would still be smiling and doing all the things that I do. But I remember one time very much, two things. Once I was at a wedding and I was in the back of the room and I was crying, and everyone was like, oh my God, you're still so emotional. And I was really crying because my marriage was ending. But people thought I was crying because I was so happy about the couple. I wasn't even thinking about them. But another time I remember thinking, I was with a couple, they were doing a cake tasting, and they were arguing about chocolate cake or vanilla cake. And I mean, it was getting heated. And I had never done this before. So I was like, okay, I know I need to stop playing the wedding. I literally was like, if y'all can't decide between chocolate and vanilla, you can forget this whole marriage. It's over now. And they were just looking at me. And I was like, when we first met, nobody said that cake was important. Pick a flavor, let's move on. And I mean, I did apologize to them later, but I was like, yeah, I might need to arc into something else in my career. And so it's, but I feel like everything flows. It seems all very different, but the nurse in me and dealing with pediatrics made me be able to deal with parents and their children. Because even if you're a 60-year-old mom, that's still your 5-year-old baby, even though she's 40 years old and getting married. So you're dealing with family dynamics, people are stressed, having to calm nerves. You're so many things. You're a referee, you're helping people get dressed. Like, people have never tied ties, people have never wore formal wear. You're zipping up people busting out their dresses, you sewing people back into dresses. So it's a lot to wedding planning. So being a peds nurse and having that empathy and taking care of people helped me to be an amazing wedding planner. And again, that champagne piece of weddings, it's huge. There's champagne in everything. As soon as you get engaged, what do they say? Pop the champagne, I'm changing my name. So you have that, and you have an engagement party. Then they're just always sparkling around. And so it was very easy to transition into that. I think the overall thing for me is that I'm just a really good project manager. I think I'm blessed. I think I could be a part of like many different industries because I have really great foresight and I can see big picture, and a lot of people don't have that gift. Sure, if you're trying to find your why, I would ask yourself, well, what was I doing when I came up with this idea? So that's what I mean, like I was sitting in the car listening to Joel Osteen and listening to a sermon, he was talking about generational wealth, right? So that became the why of like, what can I do that's bigger than me, that's still a part of love and wedding and celebrations? So what were you doing at the time, right? What problem are you trying to solve, right? Because that's where a lot of products come from as well. A lot of businesses start with that. If you're not trying to solve a problem, what are you trying to get away from, right? Do you just hate your job and you're trying something different? And then what do you love? So just ask yourself some questions about what brought this idea to you in the first place. And I will say that if your why is, I want to make a lot of money, that could be a really good end result, but you're probably not going to make it as an entrepreneur if you start with that, because it usually takes about 5 years in just any industry, any business to really, really see profit. So you'll burn out quick if your why is the money. What do I want my family to say about me? I want them to say that I was generous with my time, with my love, and with my money. But you gotta have money in order to be generous with it. So, and that because of my effort and because of my hard work, that I made it easier for them to do what they want to do. I think we live in a time now, like my goddaughter, she's getting ready to be a senior, and she wants to go into accounting, and I'm almost trying to steer her into like, have your own firm, like try to like be an entrepreneur and work for yourself. So what I want her to be able to say is, my godmother purchased the building where my firm is, right? And to give her a leg up. That's the kind of legacy that I want to live, that I'm giving them a head start.
Hi, my name is Tommy Talley. I'm the founder and executive director of Tommy Talks nonprofit. Tommy Talks is a nonprofit Chicago-based. We promote normalizing and improving mental health through creative arts, education, and peer support. In my chapter, I speak about fatherhood and being a parent and how much that has an effect on me, how my childhood has affected me, and how it still affects me to this day as a father of 3. So I have 3 beautiful children, and they've really tested me and shown me what a good father is supposed to be. So in my chapter, I talk about being the only father that I know, and that's the father that I had, who was abusive and an alcoholic and a drug addict. And I'm not that father, luckily. But I do have similar tendencies, such as anger, lack of patience, lack of understanding sometimes. And so that's what I talk about, just how I face those battles every day, how I'm fighting to be a better father every day, how I fail to be a father. So with the failure, with my faith, I'm a firm believer of God, and I believe that I'm more than what I've been so far. I'm more than my childhood. I'm more than my trauma. I'm more than my scars that I have. So. Well, I've been married now for 11 years, and my wife has been begging me to seek counseling pretty much my whole marriage. It's about my anger issues and about my childhood. And I've always denied it. I don't need help. I don't need therapy. I am who I am, and take it or leave it. And we ended up separating, my wife and I, for 2 years. And I miss my family deeply. And one day, my daughter, she came to me and she was trying to show me something. Daddy, look at this. And I said, what? What do you want? And she looked at me with these big, beautiful, bluish gray eyes, and she started crying. And right then and there, I knew I needed help. So I picked up my phone, and I looked up the nearest therapist, scheduled an appointment the next day, and my life hasn't been the same since. Yeah, so growing up, I was born and raised in Pilsen with my family. My family is primarily Southsiders for the most part. My parents both were involved in gangs. My parents both struggled with drug addictions. My father struggled with alcoholism. And we saw that as the oldest child in the house at the time. I had to take care of my siblings, and I got to see a lot of how they were being treated and how we were all being treated, and I was almost their protector. And so we just dealt with that. I mean, at one point we were homeless, sleeping in the car. At one point we had no food. My mother and my father did separate. They were married for I think a month, but they were together quite longer than a month, but they separated. And we actually split. So I was raised by my aunt and my uncle. My siblings weren't raised by my mom and my dad. Briefly here and there, they were bouncing back and forth, but I grew up in a separate house than my siblings did. They were subjected to that lifestyle. They didn't really get to escape it like I did. But we definitely did see it, and we're closer than ever now. And we're all trying to just break these generational curses that have been plaguing my family for generation after generation. Well, my father, he passed away in 2009, my freshman year of high school. His last year living, he was actually staying with me and my uncle and my aunt. My father had a little bit too much to drink, and he fell down 2 flights of stairs, broke his neck, and the doctor actually told him the only reason why he survived was because he was so drunk that his body, helped him survive. And so he stayed with us. He couldn't work. He had a halo around his head. And, that last year, I got to spend time with him, but we weren't close. I called him Dad, but I didn't ask him for money. I didn't ask him about chores. I didn't ask him if I can go out. I still reported to my aunt and my uncle, even though he was in the house and he was a respected figure and he was my father. I wasn't really close to him, just him being around. I didn't like it. He was drunk most of the time. He was slurring, and he loved me and he showed his affection all the time, but I just pushed it away. But his last year we did grow close, and I got to see, I really saw him deteriorating over the last year, and I saw him get worse. Although he wasn't battling a drug addiction anymore, he still was drinking every day, and he was on painkillers because of his halo and things. And I would see him struggling, and at times I would hear him, in the bathroom struggling, and I think he was trying to commit suicide and trying to take too many pills just to ease the pain, you know, and I remember hearing that. But the last night before he passed away, we actually had a big celebration in my yard, in my uncle's yard. All my family was there, my brothers, my sisters, my aunts, my uncles, and it was a great time. You know, everybody was having a great time, and I'll never forget at the end, my father, he hugged me, and he said he wanted to raise a toast. You know, this is to my son. I love you so much. You make me so proud. And that was the only time I told him that I loved him back. And I didn't know that would be the last time. So I started a blog about a year ago called Tommy Talks. And the idea was to get the neighborhood and the city, you know, talking about mental health, being a little bit more open about my battles with just depression, with anxiety, with my childhood abuse stories, and, you know, really trying to show the world that we are not so different. You know, as a kid, I remember telling myself, like, why is this happening to me? And, you know, as I get older, I realize it's so common. You know, it's a lot more common than we want to believe, unfortunately. And I just wanted to share it. I wanted to make people aware of that no matter what happened, you can rise above it, you know, and you can beat it. It's okay to talk about where you came from because it helps you know where you're going. And until we know where we're all, you know, been, we don't know where we're going together as a community. And then that's my thing, is just bringing the community together to talk about these things, to how can we beat them, how can we tackle them, how can we be better as a community? Because, you know, I'm sure we all have heard it takes a village, and it truly does. It's not something that we should take lightly. So I started talking about it. I started the blog, and I actually just recently turned it into a nonprofit where I'm trying to get more into schools, talk to children, and how can we implement these coping skills at an early age instead of setting them up for failure. How can we set them up for success? Instead of being reactive, how can we be proactive? So that's kind of what I've been doing with the community, having events like Light the Night, where we lit lanterns and we released them into the sky, or having panel discussions about depression and anxiety and ways that the community can overcome, providing resources that are there, that are free, that a lot of people just are too stigmatized to reach for. So that's kind of what I've been doing. Well, I want them to acknowledge that I wasn't perfect, because I don't strive to be perfect, I strive to be better. You know, I'll never be 100% the best father in the world, but as long as I'm trying, I want my kids and my grandkids to know that. And I want them to say, yes, he was imperfect, but he tried and he was there, you know? And it's not that he fought for my family, but he fought for other families too. And that's what I really want them to notice. It does surprise me that this is so common. I've had teachers reach out to me, old high school teachers, old elementary school teachers, sharing their battle of their childhood. And, you know, that's kind of where I was like, wow, it really is everybody. Because here, you know, as a child, I'm like, these teachers are so nice, they're so perfect, they're so patient, but I don't know where they came from. And them opening up to me, you know, years later after I'm not their student anymore, I think it means a lot, you know, and I think it's genuine, and I just wish a lot more people were open and genuine about their stories. It feels great. I mean, I think it's a huge achievement. You know, I'm not expecting it to be, you know, New York Times bestseller. I'm not expecting it to be the biggest book in the world, but I want it to be the most meaningful, you know, because it's not about how big it is, or, you know, it's about what's in it. And I think, you know, the authenticity and the genuine storytelling, I think it will reach a lot of people. And I'm just so proud of myself for opening up. I'm proud of my family for sticking by my side and helping, sharing these stories with me. because I didn't do it by myself. I think she would be proud, you know, considering we've had a lot of struggles. You know, we were high school sweethearts, so we met freshman year of high school and we've been dating ever since. You know, and we've had our ups and downs, and I don't know if she quite understood my story, and I think that now I'm in the streets and talking to people about it. I think she's really starting to understand how it impacted me, and especially as she's there and she sees me struggling. You know, I had a really bad depression last year that lasted a couple of months, and she was worried about me, genuinely, and we had a discussion a couple weeks ago when she opened up to me, and she was actually worried that she was going to lose me. And that really touched me because I don't want to leave my family, and I don't have suicidal tendencies, thank God. But the fact that it's really impacting my family, it's really bothering me. So I really just try to push better, and she understands it, and she's been helping me get better with it. So I think she would be proud that I'm telling my story. She'd be proud that I'm consistent with it. And I think she would be happy that I'm including her along the ride as well, because it's not just me, it's my wife, it's my children. We're all breaking these generational curses together. Life is worth it. You know, there's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be heartbreak and devastation and depression. It's not going to go away, unfortunately. And we just have to keep pushing through. You know, there are people on this world, believe it or not, who want you to be here. There's people here that, if you died tomorrow, would miss you greatly. It's not just about you. You know, there are resources out there to help. And I would recommend you talk to somebody you love, and just be honest and try to get the help that you need, because you owe it to yourself to at least try to get the help that you need. So please do.